well, we're running a little late, but if you'll have a seat or whatever. And I'm sitting there, oh, man, it's going to be one of those. It was hot, you know. I'm sitting there and it's humid, and I'm waiting. I'm tired. It's been long. And I'm going to go make this flight and come back home that night. No, it's going to be a 2-day. It's going to be a 2-day thing. But I was going to make it quick. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm dozing off, and I'm waiting. And I hear a noise. There are about 4 or 5 others there, and it's starting to trickle in, get ready for the flight. And I hear somebody that's loud. And around the corner comes a little guy, about 5'2", a little short man. No way to describe him. He looks like one of those telemarketers, got a big chain necklace with a chain, gold medallion, big old medallion. You know, got him a giant cougar or something around his neck, you know, with diamonds around it. He got a big old ring. He's got a flowery shirt, white pants. I mean, it looked like he's headed, you know, to Hawaii for one of those, you know, big deals. You know, he comes around and he's loud. Hello, honey, how you doing? And she, yeah, hello, Mr. So-and-so, how you doing? Yeah, you got my space saved on this plane? Mr. So-and-so, we got a seat for you. Come on, you know, come on in. He turns around and he comes down the aisle and he starts meeting every person. He's an extrovert to the T. Hey, hello, my name's so-and-so. Yeah, hello. And he's coming down there. I said, Lord, I don't want to meet this guy. You know, he's just loud. He's on the air, just talking. He's coming down. I said, oh, man. Hey, yeah, man, we're going to go get some of that good Nashville good weather. We're going to go. Y'all need to eat this barbecue place, a great place. You know, man, when we get there, it's going to be great, man. Are y'all looking forward to this flight? I mean, he's just pumped up, high-juiced, wired, coming down the way, and he's meeting everybody. And he gets down to about person number 6 or 7. I'm just about next, just 2 away from him. And all of a sudden, around the corner, and this will tell you how old he was, around the corner comes Senator Al Gore, senator from Tennessee, comes around the corner. And this guy, Al Gore, man, good to see you. And he just goes on the air, and he's just shaking it, and he's pumping Al's hand. You know, hey, Hal, man, good to see you, man. And he goes on the air. Folks, this is our senator from Tennessee. This is Al Gore. Yeah, we know who he is, you know. And he's just on the air, you know. And when he got right there close to me, he had had 1 or 2 drinks. He wasn't drunk, but he was loose and on the air. You could smell it. And I'm sitting there, oh, man. And so he's introducing Al and everything, and he's just talking. And he's talking about 3 notches higher than you would normally talk. And he's sitting there talking, hey, folks, this is Al. Hey, Al, man, how's it going up in Washington, man? You know, tell you what, we're watching everything you do. Al, I'm concerned about, and he quotes a bill. And he said, I'm concerned about that bill that y'all are about to pass. He said, you know, we're paying big bucks to keep you in Washington. You know, I'm concerned about how you're going to vote on that thing, because I think you're going to vote against the way I think we ought to go. And he starts telling him, reading him the right act. I mean, you ought to vote this way. If you don't, I tell you what, I'm one of your biggest contributors, man. If you don't do it, man, I'm watching how you vote on this bill. I mean, he's on the air. About that time, the lady behind him, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to board the flight. Our plane is out on the tarmac, and it's one of those you have to walk out and you go up the little steps in the tail of the plane. You know, you don't have the big old, I mean, it's a little plane. So we go out, and I'm saying, oh, my goodness, you know, I sure hope I don't get this guy, you know, whatever. And so everybody sort of lines up going out, and I'm getting on the plane, and he's back here right behind me, bending Al Gore's ear, just talking. Well, Al, I tell you what, man, we're going to be, and he's just on this Washington kick, you know. Let me know, you know, if you need anybody to point on a committee, I'll be glad to be on any committee you want to point me to, and just on and on and on. And they're getting on the plane. And as we get on the plane, I get the back little seat in the back. Al Gore, here's an empty chair here, and here's Al right here. And they get on the plane. Al sits in his seat, a little aisle, and that man sits right next to me. Al's right there. Here's Al's head. Here's his. And so he's sitting there, and so and the engine's going, and the guy, to tell you how small the plane is, the pilot opens the curtain. Hey, it's going to be a short flight. Everybody put your seatbelt on. You know, and the weather is good between here and there. Shouldn't be too many bumps, but y'all hang on, keep your seatbelt on. Well, then he pulls the curtain back. You're able to talk to the pilot in one of those little planes. Okay. Little twin engine, revs it up and get ready. And he turns to me and he says, hey, young man, where are you headed? And I said, I'm going to Nashville. And he said, good, you know. And he said, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm from here in Knoxville. Knoxville, what do you do in Knoxville? And I'm saying, well, I'm saying, oh, man, this is going to be I got a headache, and that noise, it's loud and it's hot. And I said, well, you know, I'm at the University of, yeah. Oh, you work with those Tennessee Vols. Wow. Man, that's great. He said, man, I'm a Vol myself. He said, you ever seen that big building out there? You know, and he said, I said, yeah. He said, yeah. He said, my wife and I gave that to the university. He said, got her name on it. And I said, oh, well, great. You know, and he went on. He said, well, yeah, we haven't missed a Vol football game since 1948. And he's an old timer. You know, this was about in the 80s, okay, in mid 80s. And so, man, it's revved up, and he's hollering over in the engines. He's hollering over the engines, and finally, I'm saying, I can't hear you. Let's wait a minute. Okay. We take off, you know, and I'm sitting there praying, Lord, you know, this is going to be an hour and 10-minute flight at most, hour and 20, whatever. Lord, help me get through this. I don't know about this guy. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm hot and tired, and the Holy Spirit nails me. He said, no, this old man is going to build the bridge for me. He's already got it half built. And we take off, and we level out. And I said, okay, Lord, if I have to, I will. Okay, I didn't have this in mind. Okay. And I turned to this guy, and I started talking to him. And he said, what? And I asked him, I said, well, where are you from? Well, I'm from up in Gatlinburg. You ever been up in Gatlinburg? And I said, yeah. He said, when you go up towards Gatlinburg, he said, have you ever gone up that way? And I said, yeah, we go up there all the time. And he said, well, up there on the right, when you come into town, you ever seen that big old house, sort of like a castle up there on the right and everything? He said, that's where I live. Really? He said, yeah. He said, I used to be the mayor of Gatlinburg. My daddy owned all that land up around Gatlinburg. And he said, my son now is the mayor and sort of on the city council and the Chamber of Commerce. And he said, we helped develop all that. You ever been to that hotel? And he started naming hotels and that restaurant. That's my son's restaurant. He started telling me all about his family. And I said, well, man, that's great. And so we're walking along, and we're building the bridge. Man, we're talking about everything he's wanting to talk about. He's asking me about my family. And he said, now, what kind of line of work do you are with the Tennessee Vols? And I said, well, I work with students. Really? Are you a professor? I said, no, sir. And he looked at me and said, well, you're big and ugly. And I weighed over 300 pounds in those days. And he said, you're big and ugly. I bet you're one of them football coaches, aren't you? I said, no, sir. He said, well, you say you work with students. What do you do? And I said, well, I'm a college minister. Oh, a college minister. What flavor are you? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, you Methodist, you Baptist, you Episcopalian, what flavor are you? And I laughed and I said, well, I'm a Baptist man. Oh, a Baptist minister. He said, my wife's Baptist. She goes to First Baptist Gatlinburg. And he said, in fact, I fish. Every Thursday I'm in town, I go fishing with the Baptist preacher. He and I are big buddies. And he said, man, so you're a Baptist man, good, and everything. So I'm walking along, and I turned to him, and I said, you know, I'm trying to build a bridge. I said, well, where are you headed? He said, well, I'm going to Nashville. I said, you going anywhere else? He said, no, I'm going to stay in Nashville for about a week. And he reached under the seat. He had a little paper sack. He said, here's my luggage. He said, I got my toothbrush and my pajamas right here. That's all it is. He said, my wife didn't have to pack my luggage. It's all right here. I said, but state me obvious. I said, what takes you to Nashville? And he said, well, I'm going up there for my treatment. Really? And he said, yeah, I got that old kind of cancer stuff. And he said, I'm going up there. And he said, I'll be there. He said, you ever been out to the Hermitage out there on the side of town? He said, yeah. He said, well, I built part of that. And he said, I got my own room out there on the end wing. And he said, man, that's where I'm going to be staying and everything. And I said, really? I said, so you're going there? I said, what? Well, where you been? What you doing? He said, well, I'm sort of semi-retired. He said, I got all kinds of interests. He said, I just got back from duck hunting. He said, down in Alabama down there, he said, I got me a big duck hunting spread. I got 11,000 acres down there. I bring all my buddies. We go hunt ducks. And he said, and I said, oh, really? And he said, yeah, as soon as I get through this treatment, man, it's still duck season, man. We're going back down there duck hunting. And he said, we love to fish, we duck hunt, and all that. He's on the air. He's just talking. But he's putting planks down. I said, and then I shifted gears a little bit because I got to get across the bridge, you know, because we've already landed. We're starting to decline a little bit. We're going to land this sucker, you know. So, and we're talking, and I said, so you're going to Nashville for a week, and then what? And he said, well, I'm going back duck hunting. I said, then after that, what are you going to do? He said, probably going to do a little fishing down in the Caribbean. We're going to do a little fishing down there. And I said, then what are you going to do? He said, I promised my wife that we would do a worldwide tour. He said, we've never done one of those things. And he said, we're going to do a worldwide tour. I promised her I'd do that sometime before we died or whatever. And I said, really? And I said, well, what are the doctors saying about this?